My older brother once superglued my eyes shut. Reddit. What's your unforgettable case of sibling rivalry? Once when me and my brother were pee in the same toilet, I got mad he was winning. I don't remember how we kept score, and pee all over his pants, legs, and underwear. Still brings a smile to my face when I think of it. Did you guys make the X? Me and my cousin used to cross streams and claimed we had to dig for treasure while the X was present. Because you know, X marks the spot and all. Yeah, it ended with pee all over. We're still close. My older brother once held me down and shoved a firecracker in my shoe. God knows why he thought it was a good idea. The subsequent blast removed a large portion of skin, blasted part of my shoe off and left a hole in the sock. I cried like a bee. In fairness, he felt so bad afterwards that he let me put one in his shoe and light a cracker if I promised not to tell mom. Naturally I agreed. So there we were, two miserable crying boys with aching feet and bits of our flesh missing. Ah, the innocence of youth. I miss it sometimes. Till I am glad I don't live in Alabama. The day after watching our dad have a massive heart attack in front of me, I was drawing pictures for him because we were going to the hospital later that day. She came up to me and said, "You don't love daddy," and proceeded to scratch down my left forearm with her nails. I remember crying and running to my mom professing that I do love daddy. I still have the scars on my arm 27 years later. She stabbed me with a fork in the back, just missing my spine. I had 4 puncture marks on my back. She thought it was hilarious. She would try to sleep with me at night and would kick me until she could physically kick me out of the bed, then leave and go in her bed. She threw a JCPenney's catalog at my face and gave me a black eye. She stole my money and candy anytime I had it. Every time my parents left her to babysit me, it would end with me locking myself in my room, with her pounding on the door and yelling terrible things at me until she was tired. She tormented me, both physically and emotionally. I have nothing to do with her now. I'm happier and healthier for it. She sounds like the devil. I was once in love with a girl that carved her name into someone's arm with a fork. Man, I was stupid. Hit my sister in the forehead with a golf club when I was 3. Her 4. Complete accident. I swear. Bunch of stitches. I used to also run in her room and scream the house was on fire whenever she'd be taking a nap. Worked until the one time the house was actually on fire. My aunt likes to tell us stories about how when her and my dad were little, my dad's friends would shove my aunt in a barrel, fart in it, lock the lid, and then roll her down a hill. Your aunt's story is pure gold and your dad is awesome. As a parent of 2 kids who wake up napping, kids deserve a shovel in the face, unless the house really is on fire. I locked my little brother in a large plastic chest that clasped shut from the outside when he was 6. I forgot about him and it was only when my mother was serving dinner that she heard his faint crying. He was drenched in sweat and red-faced when she opened it. TLDR. My brother is not Houdini. Bro. When I was 7 and my sister was 10, we decided to play torture chamber where we would do harmless but horrible things to each other until someone called uncle. Well, I tied my sister to the bed's wheel frame with belts and proceeded to shove metal toy cars in her socks, and I wasn't getting much of a reaction. So I found a straw in our closet and thought this goes up the nose. My sister caught a glimpse of it and said, "Don't put it in my nose." Well, this was torture chamber. If she didn't want it up her nose, then surely it meant I would win. So in the nose it went. And then blood. Blood everywhere. I gave my sister one of the worst bloody noses she has ever had. And of course she was tied to the bed. She finally got out of the belts, but her socks were filled with Lego and toy cars. So she stumbled and cried all the way to the bathroom. It was terrible. I got into a heap of trouble, but I still won torture chamber. Police and military should use this for interrogation. My brother and I were freaking monsters to each other. I used to torture him until he got so angry he would chase me around the house with a butcher knife. When I was 9ish and he was 7. One time, I hid in the bathroom as he stabbed the door in rage and I kept screaming, "You're psycho. You're going to kill your wife one day." No one I've ever heard of topped us in psychotic sibling hatred. We're super close now. Nothing physical, just 18 years of soul-crushing offhanded remarks. I don't know why this isn't higher. Mental abuse is just as if not more horrible than physical. I know, the mental issues resulting from having siblings like that can mess up your whole life, and often do. My heart goes out to you. Truly, I'm in the same situation. My brother was slamming me against the inside of the front door of our house, over and over again. I had done something to pee him off. He was 3 years older than me and a lot bigger. Thing is, our front door had a huge glass window in the middle, and after the 10th slam crash, I just went flying through the glass onto the front porch, landing on my back. I looked around at all the broken glass and bits of broken door, remarkably without a cut on me, looked up at him, laughed, and said, "You're gonna be in so much freaking trouble." He was in a lot of freaking trouble. Another story. One time my older brother held my dog over the edge of our balcony and threatened to drop him for several minutes, just to make me cry. Not kidding. My brother put my sister into the dryer. He was too young to know how to turn it on, so he just sat in front of the door for like 5 minutes before someone told him to let my sister out. Jesus, that scared me for a moment. He farted in my face, so I uppercutted him in the taint. Ah, childhood. My older brother made my life heck when I was kid. He would always make fun of me, beat me up, steal my money, or break anything I had. One time he sprayed rat poison in my face to see my reaction. At school he was a complete dong and made up some lies about me, then would point and laugh with his friends. Needless to say, when I got bigger than him, I didn't hold back. He had some friends over when he made a jab at me and I snapped. I knocked out 3 of his front teeth, broke a rib, then chucked him through the drywall. Took 3 of his friends to pull me off him. Best part was my parents told him he deserved it. Awesome. My older brother would trick and prank me all the time. I was about 8 and him 14, and he tricked me that this super cool movie would start anytime now. So I sat by the TV for hours with him, waiting and waiting, with him hyping this awesome movie to the skies. Then suddenly, bedtime. He laughed and thought he'd been so clever. There was no uber cool movie. Well, joke was on you, big bruh. I got to hang out with you all evening. Best evening ever for a little sister who thinks her brother is a hero. My brother and I were always competitive. One day, we decided to race those little metal yellow dump trucks, the ones that if your butt was small enough you could sit in the back part and ride around in them. Anyway, we walked to the top of a steep hill to race our trucks. I told him I'd count to 3, then we'd go. I said, "Okay, 1, 2, 3. My brother shoved off and went speeding down the hill while I sat back, laughing, until I remembered there was a speed bump at the bottom of the hill. He hit it at little kid warp speed and cleared a hedge. Activate the EMH. We had bunk beds. He got the bottom seeing as he was bigger. He sawed the outer legs of the bed, the ones holding up my part, thinking they'd break and I'd fall out. Turns out all 4 broke and my bed came crashing down. The alcove just under my bed fit perfectly around him, leaving him stuck under my bed. I slept through this entire thing. Since I was about 5 I could sleep through anything. Sirens, being smacked with a pillow, water being poured on me. If I didn't want to wake up I simply wouldn't. He spent the night trapped under me until 10 AM the next day when my parents came in to wake us up. They found me where my brother should be and my bed was apparently gone. They asked me what happened and I just said I had no idea. Then we heard a faint shout and knocking. They realized what had happened and took my bed off. He'd pee the bed then cried his eyes out wallowing in his own pee for 9 hours. Told this story at his wedding, had people in tears laughing. Oh my god, that is one of the maddest serves you right stories I've read. Glad your bro was okay in the end and no damage was done. I've always had a bit of a rivalry between myself and my sister, but when we were like 13 and 11, crap got crazy, then started escalating after I hit my sister with a snowball from the freezer that she'd been saving to use on me. It escalated a lot, even getting to the point that I decided to hide my Game Boy for fear that she'd try to erase my Pokemon game where I'd gotten almost all 150 Pokemon. A few days later she came in my room and started rummaging through the spot where I normally kept it, claiming to be looking for something. TLDR. Crap almost got Pokemon erasingly crazy a few days after I hit my sister with her own snowball in May. You don't mess with a Pokemon save file. That's asking to be murdered. My brother chucked a Rugrats N64 cartridge at my face when he lost. Gave me a black eye. My older sister always used to pretend to do things so I would copy her and do stupid crap. At the local pet store there were signs to deter anyone from putting fingers in reach of the rodents. My sister said, hey, put your finger in the rat cage, they will tickle and lick your finger. I just did it. See, I put my finger in and about 6 rats tried to bite it off and almost succeeded. My sister is a C. My older brother and I taught our younger brother how to moon people. Or so we thought. Hey, go moon mom. She was lying in bed reading. So our younger brother, probably 3 or 4 at the time, runs in next to her, drops his pants, doesn't bend over, just stands there with his willy hanging out and says, surprise. Not me, my sister. She was jealous of my little brother when he was born. Up until he was 1 or 2, she used to drag him behind the curtains to hide him, sometimes stuff cotton wool in his ears, and once she put a coin in his mouth to see if it would fit, but he nearly choked. She was a wagon, haha. I've never heard someone described as a wagon before. Not what was done to me, but what I had done to him. When I was 3 years old and didn't know better, I was just walking around bored with nothing to do. At the time I had this glass milk bottle which I was drinking from. My brother was in his bed taking a nap, and I had a brilliant idea. One where I would perform a terrible act that he remembers to this day. Thinking he looked a little too peaceful, I raised my bottle and brought it down as hard as I could on his sleeping face. Needless to say, he couldn't do much to my 3-year-old self, and so he has been performing random acts of vengeance ever since. A few years ago, my stepbrother used my phone to accumulate approximately $10,000 in data charges on my bill. I was probably about 16 at the time. He was about 18 or 19, I think. Desperate for pictures of naked ladies, my stepbrother used my dad's computer to look at P, and in the process rendered it completely unusable because he is a dumbass and doesn't understand the concept of computer viruses. So my dad got his computer fixed and set it up so you had to have about 5 different passwords to log on. I should probably mention that this has happened multiple times. Still desperate, my stepbrother found that his phone had a handy little internet browser that was capable of playing steamy videos of pretty ladies doing naughty things. Keep in mind that this was before the age of smartphones and data plans, which meant that every kilobyte of data transferred equaled 1 cent on your phone bill. My dad and stepmother were paying for his phone at the time, and they obviously weren't happy when the next bill came in. So after sorting everything out, they got him a different plan that blocked all internet traffic to and from his phone. Well, I was staying over at my dad's house one night, and my stepbrother got an idea. If he used my phone to look at P while I was sleeping, I would get blamed for it because the charges would show up on my bill. Needless to say, everyone knew he did it, except for my mom, who yelled at me. In the end, my dad paid off the bill and made my stepbrother pay him back, which he is probably still trying to do. At times, I tend not to like my stepbrother very much. I once stabbed my brother with a bayonet when I was 3 and he was 11. We were watching Willow, and I guess I wanted in on the fun. And yes, my family keeps weapons like that within the grasp of a toddler. Score 1 for the younger siblings. I can imagine the parents saying something like this. Goodbye BDGC and brother, we're off to dinner. Eat your vegetables, and don't forget the bayonet is on the cabinet. Toodle-o. My brother flipped over my bed, my queen-sized bed, frame and all. He was 14. He's a persistent little sucker. My sister used to run into my room and jump onto my bed as her way of saying hi, because she knew it would annoy me. So one time I swapped the box spring and the mattress, and remade the bed. Sure enough, she comes flying in and jumps on the bed. Hurt her knee pretty bad if I recall correctly. My sister pooped in the bathtub so she could have the bathroom to herself. I was never allowed to take a bath with her after that. I pooped in the tub while taking a bath with my brother, but I didn't do it to have the bathroom to myself. I think I just did it. But same, we didn't take baths together after that. Oh boy, my brother had some fun at my expense. He set the arm of my t-shirt on fire while I was brushing my teeth. He literally stuck his head into the bathroom, saw me, then put a lighter to my sleeve. He has shot me with paintball gun, BB gun and slingshot. Pulled me 22 stairs by my underwear. Those were probably the worst. My brother threw my Teletubby toy out of the window and broke its eye. When we were younger, I told my brother that the reflectors on bikes were actually lights and that if you pedaled really fast they would light up. He immediately proceeds to trying it, then leans over to see if the front light came on. As he's doing this, he hits a mailbox, skyrockets forward, and lands on his arm, consequently breaking it. This one is extra hilarious because the intent wasn't all that malicious, but the results were more grievous than normal sibling torture. My mom forced me to loan my older brother, Zach, $20 because he was going out with friends and she didn't have any cash. He was supposed to repay it, but he refused because he had ordered a pizza about 7 months earlier and I ate a piece, so we were even. For a year, I tried, without success, to get him to repay the loan. I got increasingly angry and desperate. He got increasingly dickish and pig-headed. In retrospect, no idea why my parents never intervened. I finally side-tackled him and nearly broke his nose. And my other older brother finally gave me $20 with the understanding that Zach would then owe him $20 instead of me. No idea if that lousy bastard ever repaid him. My late father's story, but it's a good one. His older brother punched him and he was going to go tell on him. So my uncle grabbed a dart and stood over the stairs that led to the family room. He told him, "If you go down the stairs, I am going to throw this in your head." My father did not believe it, so he walked downstairs and sure enough a dart was sticking in his head roughly 3/4 of an inch in. But my grandmother rushed him to the emergency room and he was fine. So my uncle got in real big trouble and my grandfather beat his butt for it. My father then had the upper advantage and he even once stuck a dart in his leg and said his brother did it so he would get in butt whoopin'. My brother would come into a room where I was reading, sit on the far side of the room and start screaming in fake pain. Then my mother would come rushing in, see me sitting there and my brother rolling around the floor like an Italian footballer and punish me for having hurt him. He's a little crap and has been since he was small. I've been systematically scaring the crap out of my little brother for a year. I hide in places, pop out, and scare him. He's so scared that he gets jittery and he'll run away when I enter a room. Don't worry, he loves me and we hang out all of the time. I bought him an Xbox 360. No one's all bad. My older brother used to do that to me all the time. He stopped after I started reacting by punching him in the face, though. Older sis confessed to me that when she was 4 and I was 2, she tried to choke me out but had to stop cause my mom came back into the room. We do not get along at all. My 4th or 5th birthday, my parents got me sock'em boppers. They were these giant inflatable boxing glove type things, with the slogan "funner than a pillow fight." My sister was 3.5 years older than me and while trying them out, began beating the crap out of me. I went livid. In a childish flash of white rage, I threw my gloves off and punched her in the face, knocking a tooth out. Needless to say, that was the first and only sock'em bopper fight. More fun than a pillow fight. Goddamn that song. Back when my friend got his paper permit, his brother wrote level 3 diddler in pen on it. This happened to my mom, not me. When my mom was 4 years old, my aunt Kelly, 5 years older, told my mom to come over. My mom obediently obliged. My aunt then proceeded to make my mom sit on a red ant hill, letting them bite her all over. You could say she had ants in her pants. My 2 older brothers tied my other brother to a tree, put a pine cone down his shirt and then punched the pine cone multiple times. They later squeezed some fresh lemons, poured it on his open pine cone wounds and took his $10 to buy chips. Once I menaced my brother out of our room with a 30cm long and very sharp dagger I had hidden. Some years later he hit me very hard in the face with a stud belt. I don't think I've ever bled so much. I accidentally injured my brother a few times when we were younger. I remember jumping up on his bed and pretending to hit him in the face with a hockey stick. Turns out I'm not very good with a hockey stick and I hit him between his eyebrows. He needed a couple of stitches. Another time, I threw a dart at him. It was a dart for kids, so it was dull on the tip. It went into the side of his knee all the way. 2 more stories about my friends. Story 1. One of my friends hated his younger sister. He's got an unfinished basement which has a staircase leading to the main floor, and a door at the top of the staircase. He called Ellen, "Mom wants you," and she ran up the stairs. Right into the door my friend slammed in her face. She fell down the staircase and hit her head on the concrete floor. Story 2. Another friend has an older sister who was incredibly jealous when he was born. She sneaked into his room one night when he was a baby. His bones were still soft and she bent his forearm like a metal rod. I threw a brick at my older brother, if that counts. I kept the brick. It has a blood stain. We used to have a really big freezer that opened at the top. It wasn't ever very full, so one day I dared my brother to get in. He did, and I slammed the lid shut and sat on top of it for a solid 10 minutes so he couldn't get out. I was fricked up. That would be terrifying. I told my younger sister that she was adopted, and she believed me, but my mom's younger brother got mad at her and hit her square in the back with a hammer when they were younger. Hardcore. What? One time when I was about 10 years old, I made a bow and obtained a legit arrow from a sports store. Long story short, I shot him in the leg. One time as a young, my cousins, my brother, and I were sitting in the living room playing with G.I. Joe action figures. My brother threw my toy across the room so I'd go get it. When I sat up, he snuck a burnt out light bulb into the pillow I was sitting on. I then sat on the pillow and got nearly every piece of broken glass stuck into my cheeks. He then pulled the glass shards out by himself and cleaned the pillow like a good guy, then immediately changed and smacked me in the dong a few seconds after. TLDR. Brother put light bulb under my butt, got glass in my butt. Brother pulled glass out and cleaned pillow, slapped my dong. I upvoted you at Yun and then wished I could upvote you again at G.I. Joe. Oh yeah, and now I really want you to put your TLDR on your resume or in your wedding vows if you're not already married or if you renew them ever. About 4 years ago, I was laying on the couch when my 21-year-old big brother came by. He reached over me to get the blanket on top of the couch, or so I thought. He proceeded to slap both of my cheeks and he ran off. At that point I noticed he had something on his hands. I had baby powder handprints on my face. I have a stepsister. We never lived together, but every summer I would go see them. I think we were about 9 and 10 at the time. Her mom had those Cadbury eggs and my sister ate one. Apparently this wasn't allowed because the eggs were for someone else. She told me to take the blame. I refused, so she told me her friend's dad was going to beat me up. I still said no. She told her mom it was me anyway. I got yelled at, grounded, and wasn't allowed to eat anything but dinner for a couple weeks. My sister and I get along now, and she tried to tell her mom she actually ate the egg. Years later, her mom still thinks it was me. I hated those moments as a kid when someone would threaten to have hired help, like a friend or friend's parent beat you up. Like there were some teenagers and adults who were mythical creatures that just lived their lives waiting to get the word so they could wail on you. My brothers would dangle me over the edge of railings by my ankles and hold me down to let the family dogs lick my face. Years ago, I had made an appointment to have my dog groomed, but I would be at school, so I asked my brother to take him for me. My brother hated my dog and, just to spite me, had the groomers shave my dog down. I came home from school horrified that my dog's beautiful coat was shorn and my poor dog was hiding behind couches and under coffee tables from shame. My brother had a good laugh at our expense. You have been visited by the IT lizard. Upvote or experience bad internet for a month. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.